That's it! Judas Priest's Invincible Shield Tour is officially over, and with it comes a rather bittersweet feeling, as this tour helped Judas Priest break yet another record in the world of heavy metal.
Here we are, having a great time all these years later.
So today, let's wrap up Judas Priest's Invincible Shield Tour and discuss what made it so special, take an exclusive tour backstage, and then talk about what we may expect from the band in the future. Oh, and also gift an Invincible Shield vinyl signed by all of the band members. Here you go. By the way guys, real quick, as always, please do not hesitate to comment on anything you hear or see in this video, and especially if you disagree with me, because the whole point of our Defenders of the Faith series is of course to start a conversation. But alright, let's do it. The Invincible Shield World Tour kicked off on March 11th, 2024 in Glasgow, Scotland, and lasted for more than a year before Judas Priest wrapped it up with a show in Monterrey, Mexico on May 7th this year. And during that 14-month period, according to the band themselves, they've given 99 shows in 32 countries with over 90,000 miles traveled and performed in front of more than 1.2 million fans. Yes, overall more than 1 million heavy metal maniacs showed up to see metal gods do what they do best. But the craziest thing is that despite this extremely intense schedule, as Judas Priest basically were given one show every 4.3 days for more than a year straight, there was absolutely no sign of slowing down from a band that has been doing it for 56 years. As that's the kind of schedule you'd say is pretty intense for a band in their 20s. But I don't even know what to call it for a band that has been doing it for over 5 decades. But in addition to that, the Invincible Shield Tour also contributed to another important piece of statistics that the band hasn't really spoken of. As although it is virtually impossible to count all concerts given by every metal band on the planet to determine a band with most live shows, and in all honesty there is little to no point in doing this. Nevertheless, today, in 2025, in addition to being the longest lasting, still active heavy metal band on the planet, Judas Priest also is the band which has completed the most amount of tours in our favorite genre. And first of all, I'm talking only about major proper tours here. And secondly, well, given the fact that the band is literally about to kick off yet another one soon, there is little to no chance anyone on the planet can beat them in the nearest future. By the way guys, real quick, just want to point out that only around 30% of the people who watch my videos are actually subscribed to this channel. So if you're not one of those, and especially if this is not the first Defenders of the Faith video you're watching here, I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing right now. Let's continue building this amazing heavy metal community together. At the first show of the tour in March of 2024, Judas Priest introduced 3 brand new songs from their latest studio output. And for most part of this run, it was the 3 songs from Invincible Shield that represented this record on the road. Those of course being the opening track Panic Attack, Crown of Horns, and the title track from the band's 19th studio record. Although, interestingly enough, Judas Priest actually performed 4 songs from another of their records, that one being Screaming for Vengeance, including some of the deeper cuts from the album, so I guess we could technically call it a Screaming for Shield Tour. But that would be a really stupid name for it. So anyways, in addition to the 3 tracks mentioned above from Invincible Shield, Judas Priest also did perform Trial by Fire on 2 occasions and the song Gates of Hell a handful of times, before completely removing those 2 from their setlist, which kind of makes me think that there is a very high chance that we might hear those on the band's upcoming Shield of Pain tour, and which also makes me feel very lucky that I was actually one of those people who was able to catch those tracks live last year. But in addition to all that, there were actually a couple of more surprises on the setlist which Judas Priest prepared for all of their die-hard fans, as this tour became the tour on which Judas Priest continued giving justice to one of the band's greatest tracks from the 1970s. The track which sadly was completely ignored by the band before 2018, and which thousands of fans have been begging Judas Priest to perform live for decades. That one of course being the Stained Glasses' Saints in Hell. And of course, to a major surprise of many heavy metal maniacs around the world, on this tour Judas Priest have finally shown some love to the legendary Love Bites, which has actually gotten more plays on 2024 than it has gotten exactly 40 years ago, when Judas Priest were out on the road promoting their incredible Defenders of the Faith. In addition to all that, on several occasions we were also treated to Metal Gods, You Don't Have to Be Old to Be Wise, which, by the way, is another one of vastly ignored songs from the legendary Screaming for Vengeance, and have even got a brief taste of The Rage, which Judas Priest sadly only performed twice on this tour. But still, nevertheless, they did it! Yet overall, as a person who was able to see this tour live, I gotta say that this was actually one of the most balanced setlists in quite a while, which has perfectly represented both the classics and the deeper cuts, which so many of us diehard Judas Priest fans are longing to hear the band perform live. And in addition to that, it actually perfectly incorporated the different eras of Judas Priest, starting from the 1970s and up until the latest one of the 2020s, which in my opinion might have actually been one of the key elements of this tour's success around the globe. Now, as I already mentioned before, and as most of this channel's regular viewers of course know, I was able to see Judas Priest perform live on Invincible Shield Tour on multiple occasions last year. Thanks to Judas Priest, of course, inviting me on the road together with them to fundraise with our heavy metal non-profit Steel Wings Foundation, of which we'll talk in a moment. But looking back at it today, I have to say that one of the most surreal experiences was not only to see the Metal Gods perform live on stage, but also to see the backstage and to finally understand how much work and dedication by dozens of people goes into creating each one of the shows we heavy metal maniacs see on stage. Being backstage at a Judas Priest show is like watching a colony of ants. Everyone knows exactly where to be, what to do, and when to do it. No shouting, no scrambling, just pure focused motion. Guitar techs swapping out gear with military precision. Lighting crews syncing cues to the millisecond, and stagehands moving like ghosts in the dark. It's honestly insane how smooth it all runs. You'd think a setup this massive would be chaos, but it's completely opposite. Total discipline, like a machine, silent, tight, and locked in. And the same goes for the boys in the band, who are being the most regular blocks you can imagine during the day until it's time to go on stage. And then suddenly, everything changes. Richie, Ian, Andy, and Scott suddenly turned totally serious, and Rob Halford, who was throwing jokes minutes ago, is suddenly no longer Rob Halford. He is Metal God. And so it begins. And in addition to everything, on this tour, Judas Priest have brought an entire museum on the road with them, allowing fans to get closer to their history and learn more about the legendary outfits and instruments which forged the Judas Priest legacy in the past, which so many diehard fans love to speculate and create histories about. And of course, talk to the crew, ask as many questions about the process of setting everything up, the way it operates, experience it firsthand, and physically take part in the preparation for the show. And here's the thing. I know that many people for some reason are crapping all the possible backstage experiences by any band out there, but you know what? Everyone I spoke to on this tour who was a part of the backstage experience simply loved it.
How did you guys like it?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
That's awesome.
So yeah, say what you want, but the whole idea of having a possibility of experiencing this for all the fans who are able to do that, in my opinion, is simply awesome. Stage and production-wise, the Invincible Shield Tour was pretty much exactly what we all expected from the band and everything we're used to see from the Metal Gods in the past several years. Although, I gotta say that for some reason it actually did feel slightly bigger in scale, which I guess is most likely due to the backdrop screen sizes, but nevertheless, I actually think that it is also pretty safe to assume that stage-wise it will be very similar to what we will see Judas Priest doing on their upcoming Shield of Pain tour, which overall feels like a natural continuation of the Invincible Shield run. Yet this time luring in not only the die-hard Judas Priest following, but also the masses which know this band for one of the greatest heavy metal albums ever made in history. And by the way, a huge thank you and shout out to all of you Metal Pilgrims who will be attending the Shield of Pain 2 and Metal Pilgrim merch, including the new Defender of the Faith design that we have, that even I don't have yet because it will be printed only this weekend. But nevertheless, it's so awesome to see you representing the show. And just know that it means the world to me, and it's so awesome to see our community growing across the world. But nevertheless, talking about the Shield of Pain tour, I actually think it is pretty safe to assume that on this run, Judas Priest will once again perform around 18 songs on average a night, with hopefully up to 5 of those being from Painkiller, which by the way is celebrating its 35th anniversary this year, and 5 more from the band's latest studio output. Because yes, Invincible Shield was that good, and I really hope that we'll get to hear some more songs from it live this year. Despite the Shield of Pain tour of course being the tour for the masses, there is still a chance that Judas Priest might treat their fans to some deep cuts on it. And so when it comes to the band's 1990 record, in addition to its title track, which of course has been a setlist staple since its release, I personally hope we'll get to hear Hell Patrol, Nightcrawler, A Touch of Evil, and the band's most underappreciated masterpiece, Leather Rebel, which Judas Priest sadly performed only twice live back in 1990.
Leather Rebel, blinding in the dark.
And when it comes to Invincible Shield, in addition to Panic Attack and the title track, which I think will make it back onto the setlist, I personally would love to hear any of the songs from the album live. Although I feel there is a high chance Judas Priest will perform Trial by Fire, Gates of Hell, and As God Is My Witness, or The Serpent and the Kin, which Rob Halford told me in the interview the band has rehearsed before.
Nice!
And the rest will of course be backed with Judas Priest classics, including possibly something from Rock'n'Rolla, which just celebrated its 50th anniversary. But the truth is that no matter what they play, this will definitely be one of the most important tours of the year. And yes, I don't know about you, but I'm extremely excited to see what Judas Priest will bring on the road together with them on this legendary tour, and I really hope that I and all of the Ukrainian heavy metal maniacs will be able to enjoy it live as well. But nevertheless, what do you guys personally think about Invincible Shield Tour, and what do you expect from the Shield of Pain run? Please let us know in the comments. And yes, I know that I did promise you a bit more at the beginning of this video. So, right now, I'd like to gift this very special alternative cover Invincible Shield vinyl record, signed by all the Judas Priest members, including Andy Sneap, who, as you know, doesn't really sign many things quite often, and I'm more than happy to give it out to one of you guys. And so yes, this record, signed by all the Judas Priest members, can be yours for a donation of any size to our heavy metal non-profit Steel Wings Foundation, which is of course approved by Rob Halford and Judas Priest themselves, with every $5 or euros you donate giving you one chance to win this record. And of course, the more you donate, the more chances you've got, with every penny from it going to purchasing medical equipment and everything that is needed in the remote areas here on the ground in Ukraine. And as always, I'll be personally responsible for both purchasing it and delivering it right to the hands who need it the most. The donation link and all the additional information will be of course in the description to this video. So Metal Pilgrims, let's once again showcase that our heavy metal community is one of the most loving and passionate ones out there. But for now, thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!